Alright, let's begin, shall we? It's 5:01 and let's begin. So, hello there and welcome back to our IELTS course, preparation course. And as always, I am your instructor, Neil. If you remember the past few sessions, we have taken a look at the IELTS writing assignments, and of course the only thing remaining is the first task in the academic module, which is honestly unique to be a bit to try and avoid. Okay, to be blunt, it's very difficult. Okay, first task in the academic IELTS course is difficult because it's very different from the other ones. We are all used to writing letters and our opinions about something, writing general topics. But the first task in the academic module is very different because it's about analyzing a certain piece of data given. By the way, if you are taking the general module, this will not interest you at all because your test will not include commenting on a graph, so you may skip this session. Anyway, let's get back to the first task in the academic module. And this is, well, of course, this is not a test, or this is not a graph that you will be given in the test. Of course, this is just a small example of a graph, okay? But the data given in the test will be much more abundant than this one. You will have a larger amount of information given to you than just 3 bars. Regardless, we are taking a look here at a graph being drawn for facts. A fact is different from an opinion because it's based on research, because it's objective. Okay, it's based on research and it involves measurement. Right? When you say something is objective, it means that objective is based on experiments or observations. Right? That's an objective sentence. But a subjective sentence is something that is based on just your opinion, your feelings, what you feel about something, and it doesn't have to be something proven. Okay? A subjective sentence could, what you're writing in task 2 be, if you do not back it with examples. Let's say, for example, that you think the pyramids are maybe made of salt, okay, or the pyramids are made of white cheese. Okay, this is a subjective sentence because you are saying what you think. But when you have proof, okay, so you say a sentence and then you have, shall we say, examples for it, or your personal observations, but of course provided they are real. Okay, this becomes an objective sentence. Otherwise, this is a subjective sentence that's based on personal opinion. Alright? So let's say, for example, that you think someone is not a good person. Okay? Anyone is not a good person because you think he's not a good person. You don't like him. Okay? You don't feel shall we say, you don't feel he's a good person. Just that. Okay? That's a subjective sentence. But an objective sentence is when you say a person is bad because he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's objective and subjective and involves measurement. For example, the graph on the left, actually it's on the right, shows what group of students think about a film they have just seen. Okay? So some people say good, okay, and not very good. Having looked at this graph, you could say that half of the students did not like the film. Okay? So when we count, of course, you can see that the total number of students is 30, and the people who thought it was not very good was 15. So you can say half of the students did not like the film, or you could say that 50% of the students did not like the film. Half, 50%. You could even be more specific and say 15 out of 30 students did not like the film. These are all facts, and you can approach these facts from an objective point of view in many styles. You can say 1/2 or a percentage or just the numbers, 15 out of 30. Remember to vary between these styles when you mention the other graphs. So for example, you can say that 10, so about 1/3 of the students thought that the movie is okay, while the rest 5 students liked it. So try your best to vary your answers. So don't say that 50% didn't like the movie, 30% liked or thought the movie was okay, and about 1/6 times 100, that's about what? I don't know the percentage here. It's about 22, 23%. All right? 23% of the students liked the movie. Don't say all in percentage. Say this one in percentage maybe, this one half, or while half or the rest of the students didn't like the movie, and you know, half of the students didn't like the movie, 30% thought it was okay, while the rest 5 students liked it. Alright, let's move on. This is one type. So the last one was a bar graph. A graph made of chocolate bars. But this one is a pie chart. Yeah, there's a lot of food in this lecture. So we have a pie, we have bars of chocolate. So this is a pie chart. Okay, it's, shall we say, a circle divided into percentages here based on something. Let's see. It shows how a young woman called Tomoko spends her money. I think Tomoko is a Japanese name. Anyway, so how a young woman spends the money she earns: 45% on rent and food, 25% on study materials, entertainment and clothes, 15% each. Alright? You notice what I've said here? Entertainment and clothes, 15% each. Okay? This is much better than saying that she spends 15% on entertainment and she spends 15% on clothes. Try to avoid repetition. No repetition. Okay? So try to vary your sentence structures. Just say that almost half of what she spends is on rent and food, a quarter or 25% is on study materials, and the rest 30 or the remaining 30% is spent between clothes and entertainment equally. So Tomoko spends an equal amount of money on rent, food, study materials, and entertainment. So see if you can correct them. Just look at the sentences below you have written. And now that have been written about the pie chart, see if you can correct them. Tomoko spends an equal amount of money on rent, food, study materials, and entertainment. So of course this is not an equal amount. You can say that she spends an equal amount of money on clothes and entertainment. Okay, so clothes and entertainment. Let me just have this here. Please give me a moment. Alright, and a bit more. Okay, so she spends an equal amount of money on clothes and entertainment. Alright, clothes. Here we are. So this might be a good correction. Tomoko spends 45% of her money on rent and food, but she only spends 15% of her money on study materials. I think this is very clear. So rent and food 45%, but only 25% on study materials. Tomoko spends more clothes than she spends. Tomoko spends more on clothes than she spends on study materials. Clothes and study materials. So it's the other way around. Tomoko spends as much money on rent and food as she does on everything else put together. So 15 and 15, 30%. If this were 15%, that sentence would have been correct. But it's 25%. So maybe you can say, but I'm not sure if this is liked or good. Okay, almost as much. You can write here before as much. You can write almost. Okay, so she spends almost as much on food and rent than on study materials and everything else. Of course, this half of the curve is 55% and this is 45%. So the percentages are more or less 50-50. So maybe. Anyway, let's take a look at the third here. Let's see cigarette smoking habits by gender. A popular magazine conducted a survey about the readers' smoking habits. Here are the results. Now this is a table. Okay, this can also be a type of information being given to you. Okay, first it was a bar graph and then a pie chart, then this table. So let's just quickly get back to the bar graph. When you take a look at the bar graph, we will be talking about these trends. We will be talking about these trends later, but for now, take a look at this. You can see that you can draw a line that is, shall we say, these are the bars, so it can be placed, bars, and the line can be placed on them. Alright? So you can follow a trend here. This is a, shall we say, is a rising trend. Maybe a rising trend. Alright? So this is one type of information that you can expect to find when a bar graph is given. What about a pie chart? When you are given a pie chart, you can be given some sort of division. Alright? So here, almost as much rent and food as study or as everything else put together. So you can have, or you can find that the largest piece or the largest thing, or the thing that she spends the most money on, okay, you can use it and compare it to the other or to the rest of the parts of the pie chart and see if they are more or less equal. So this one and this one can be compared. What about a table? A table, you can see that there is, of course, you need to notice the columns and the rows. So pay very close attention to this one, the columns, the rows here, and this column or that column here. Okay, you must read the table well, because if you didn't, you will analyze this information incorrectly. You can compare now between the numbers either for every row or for every column here. For every row or for every column. So cigarette smoking habits by gender, 20 plus a day. Okay, everyone smokes percentage. Okay, 11% of smokers, by gender percentage here, 11% of smokers are smoking 20 cigarettes or more a day. 13% of smokers who smoke 20 cigarettes a day or more, okay, are men. Sorry, or in the men, 13% of smokers smoke 20 cigarettes a day or more. 9% of women smokers smoke 20 cigarettes or more a day. So be very careful here. Those are very separate graphs. Okay? Those are very separate fields here. Alright? So, first, you are seeing this all here. When you consider everyone, regardless of gender, you see that 11% are men. 11% of smokers smoke 20 plus a day. Of course, there is 43% who never smoked, or the non-smokers, or those who had given up. That's a very nice statistic here, saying that those who had given up and those who never smoked represent the largest percentage of anyone or of the people who were asked. Alright? So 11% of the people smoked 20 plus cigarettes a day. And this is another mistake I made. It's not 11% of smokers. 11% of smokers. This is absolutely wrong. It's 11% of the people interviewed, right, smoked or smoke 20 cigarettes a day or more. This is exactly the type of information you are asked to find out. Okay, so 11% of the people interviewed, not the smokers. I'm just going to remove this. Let's go over this slowly and complete the following sentences which describe some of the facts here in the table. Something of the readers have never smoked. Now first, please take note of the readers. The readers. Okay, this is a popular magazine, so this is why they're saying readers here. Okay, readers. So a percentage of the readers, not the men or the women, but the readers overall never smoked. So this is the correct number. This one here, 43%. Remember to write the percentage. Almost a third of the readers. Almost a third. So we're looking for a percentage which is a bit lower than 33%. So something like this, 27. A third of the readers again. Alright? Here. Has smoked or had smoked, but have now given up. Maybe you can say had smoked. Alright? By the way, I have said had smoked to indicate that they had smoked some cigarettes first. That's a past perfect, because I want to say that they have smoked first, then they have given up. Right? So this past perfect structure here, you write a sentence with two types of past. Let me open a whiteboard. Okay, this is a grammar rule that I should never teach you, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you remember at the beginning, I said that this is not an English course, but I will teach you maybe some English grammar whenever needed. So, when I say something about an action, or when I describe an action that came before an other. Alright? And before another. The first action, alright? The first action, action number one, alright? The action that came further away in the past takes past perfect. Alright? This is the first action. Takes a past perfect. So a past perfect is, by the way, had plus past participle. Had plus past participle. Past participle, the third form of the verb. Okay, written, right? Wrote, written, or swim, swam, swum. That's the third form, swum, or written. I'm talking about this past participle. And the second action, number two, takes the either past simple or present perfect. Alright? Present perfect. Of course, the present perfect, this one is have plus, or of course has, plus the third form, past or just let me just try it maybe. Alright, so this is our rule here. So I had prepared this lesson before it began. I had prepared this lesson before it began. Passive. Okay, so almost a third of the readers had smoked, alright, but have now given up. A percentage of the readers smoke less than 10 cigarettes a day. Alright? Something of the readers, we are talking about a percentage here. A tenth, alright? Right? We're not talking about 8%. No. We're saying a tenth. 1/10 of the readers. 1 over 10. Okay? So this is 1 over 10. Of the readers smoke less than 10 cigarettes a day. Generally speaking, men are more likely to smoke than women. 13, 9, 11, 10. 39 who have never smoked. 47 have never smoked. Okay, those who have given up, 30 compared to 44. 7 smoke less than 10 a day, but 10 women smoke less than a day. Okay, but 11 smoke 10 to 19 compared to just 10, and 13 compared to just 9 smoke 20 plus a day. So men are heavier smokers. Let's take it here. Right? Men are heavier smokers. This is a very general observation, and it can summarize a lot of the information provided in the graph here, or in the table here. More on that later. Summarizing information. Something of readers who smoke not more than 20 a day is quite small, at 11% overall. So 11% here. We're talking about a percentage. So the answer is, have you guessed it? If you guessed the percentage, this is absolutely correct. The percentage of the readers, or the percentage of readers who smoke more than 20 a day is quite small. 11% overall. The figures for the 20 plus group and the 8 and the 10-19 group, what? 11-11 are the same at 11%. Of course, we're talking about the general or all, okay? Are the same at 11%, something like that. Now let's go for what I think is the most common type of data given to you, not a bar graph or a pie chart or so. It's a graph. A graph. You can see here that in order to understand this graph, you must look at the axes first. This one and that one. Or this one and that one. University years, so in year 1980, in year 1985, and so on, 2000, I think this is an old graph, the number of overseas students keeps rising from 200 to 1,000, something like that. So try and say the information in this graph quickly. What information is being shown in the graph below? It shows an increase in the number of students. Maybe this is the first observation you can and must do. Okay, so this graph shows an increase in the number of overseas students studying in a university in somewhere, I think. I'm not sure where that university is. Anyway, the numbers of overseas students studying at the university has risen, or, just read this, the graph shows an increase in the number of overseas students at the university. Now remember, this piece of information might appear to be very obvious, too obvious. Right? Why should I say this? It's right. Everyone who's not blind can see this. But also say it, okay? Because when you say it, you are opening doors for you to explain the finer points of the graph. So you say, maybe, later on, it's not written here, we'll write it later. This increase has been the most in the years between 1985 and 1990. And after that it started decreasing between, I think, maybe somewhere here, between 1990 and 1995. Right? And from 1990 onwards, from 19 onwards, this increase has been steadily, shall we say, has been steadily slowing down. Alright? Something like that. So, considerably to the first sentence and considerable to the second sentence. So, remember here that sometimes this graph might be a bit tricky. Why? You would think that this graph is not very steep. عادية, right? It's not very steep. A steep graph would appear something like this. Very steep. But this is not very steep. But when you take a look at the comparison between 1990 and, I'm just going to remove this. Here we are. When you take a look at the comparison between 1980, in which only 200 students studied, and 1995 maybe, above 800, that's a 4-time increase. 4-time. So, always, when in a graph, compare between the initial number, الرقم الأولاني, and the final numbers here, and divide one over the other. So 850, 900 divided by 200, that's 4 times the increase. This is a very large increase. So pay attention to this part. So this is why you say considerable increase. Alright? Or considerable. Why? Because it has increased 4 times. Let's take a look at the next one. Describing trends. When you want to say that something increased considerably, you can use other sentences. You can say there is a steep rise or a sharp rise here. Okay? So, again, I'm just going to draw special shapes. Maybe, yeah. So, I'm just going to draw some arrows here, like this, to indicate what is a rise and what is a drop. Or what is an increase and what is a decrease. First, here we are. A rise, here we are. This is an increase, which is this. Fall, so fall, it is like this. A drop, a decline, a peak or a dip. Remember that a peak is when you reach, shall we say, cone, put a triangle. A peak is when you, I'm just going to draw a triangle like this, and this part here is the peak. Okay, so it doesn't seem I have a graph here yet, but when I see a peak in this presentation, I think it will be later on. Alright,